Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nathan Hamilton, and this is a short review, and today we will be looking at Now You See Me. Now, my initial reaction to the promotion of Now You See Me, I was very excited. I mean, you have a great ensemble cast coming together. You have Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson coming back together. That great chemistry from Zombieland. And then, of course, you have Isla Fisher, you have Dave Franco, you have Morgan Freeman, you have Michael Caine, you have Melanie Laurent, you have Mark Ruffalo. You have all of these great actors coming together for this film. And from the promotion of it, it looks like it's going to be it looked like it was going to be a very good film. Now, when I did research on the film, I found out it was directed by Louis Leterrier. Now, for those of you who don't know who Louis Leterrier is, the Transporter films, you know, the films that made Jason Statham into an international action star, the Transporter 1 and 2 were directed by him. So was Clash of the Titans, and so was, oh gosh, what's that? Oh yeah, the Incredible Hulk movie with Edward Norton. And, you know, he's a good action director, but, you know, his directing style and, you know, how he directs a film leaves a lot to be desired. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, that took away from a little bit of the excitement, but I was still excited because I felt that this was going to be a very well put together film, because Jesse Eisenberg is, I'll just be honest, I like Jesse Eisenberg. He's a great actor, and, well, I just thought that everything would hold together. Okay, in terms of presentation, starting out, this film does really good. We're introduced to the individual members of the Four Horsemen. First up, we have J. Daniel Atlas, played by Jesse Eisenberg. Then we have Woody Harrelson, playing Merritt Osborne. And then we have Isla Fisher, playing Henley Reeves. And then we have Dave Franco, of course, playing Jack Wilder. Now, the Four Horsemen, I like all of these characters. I like all their characters. I like the characters, and I like the personas that they have. And, you know, we see these characters, you know, thrown into this situation, and at first they're a little confused, and then they become enthralled. Now, we flash to a little while later, and they're in Vegas, and they're a huge act on Vegas. Here's where I start to notice things. You see, great directors often can make you believe you saw something without actually seeing it, and, you know, sleight of hand tricks, good sleight of hand tricks that some directors are so good at. Like Christopher Nolan. You're gonna hear Chris Nolan mentioned a little bit in this, because I'm gonna be contrasting this film to The Prestige a little bit. I'm gonna try and refrain from doing it as much as I can, but hey, I'm only human. But anyway, we move on. We're in Vegas, and they pull off the opening act, which, if you've seen the preview, you know exactly what it is. They rob a bank in Paris from Las Vegas. Now, with that being said, the way they pull off the sleight of hand in the film, you know, it's okay. It could have been done a little bit better, and I would have believed it a lot more if I would have seen less things. If they would have shown me something a different way, and I wouldn't have noticed it. And I'd have been fooled more. Now, we introduce ourselves to Rhodes. Rhodes is the FBI agent, played by Mark Ruffalo, who is given the case to figure out how the magicians robbed a bank in Paris all the way from Las Vegas. Now, his character, he seems to be Mark Ruffalo is a good actor. I like Mark Ruffalo. He puts a lot into his roles, and he doesn't differentiate here. I could actually feel him putting himself into this role of the FBI agent, and he does good work here. He keeps his own in terms of acting. Now, his character is constantly played the fool. As you've seen in the promotional footage, he's played the fool by Jesse Eisenberg's character and by the other characters as well. Now, It's now when they pull off their second act, there's 3 acts to this. Just like the film, there are three acts to their magic trick. Now, their first one was in Vegas, their second one takes place in New Orleans, and their third one takes place at the Five Points in New York City. Now, the second act, it's also pretty well pulled off. There's some things I noticed that could have been done better, of course, from the directing perspective. But in terms of the action actually is directed really well, as it is by Louis Lederer. But the sleight of hand tricks and some of the dramatic scenes, the scenes where we're supposed to, emotionally connect with the characters dramatically, they're left a little bit lacking. Now, does that completely kill the movie for me? No. It may kill the movie for you. That if you see these and you're just like, oh God, I can't believe this. Well, that's you. I mean, but this is just my opinion. Now, the third act is kind of where the wheels start to come undone, and depending on the person, they either fall off or they hobble on until the end. Now, okay, the third act. I'll admit, the third act, I was invested into this story enough, and I liked the characters enough to where I couldn't look away. And finally, we end up at New York, where if you've seen the latest trailer, then you know exactly what happens. The third act is the weakest act of the film. The payoff is pretty good. The payoff's pretty good. It could have been amazing. It could have been great in the hands of a better director, but in terms of this, it just wasn't what I was expecting. Of all the things I've said about this, don't think that this is a horrible movie. By all means, it's not a horrible movie. It's a pretty good movie. I consider it pretty good. I'd see it. I'd recommend this film to be saw. It's a good summer action film. It's kind of a semi dumbed down. I hate saying that. It's a semi dumbed down summer version of The Prestige by Christopher Nolan. Told you I was going to mention that again. But anyway, where Christopher Nolan is really good at pulling off the sleight of hand tricks. With The Prestige, he was really good about pulling them off in that film, and and everything was told in such a really good way, and the story didn't die down and wasn't bogged down by subplots and everything. That's another thing too. This film had a few subplots that could have been taken out, a few silly subplots that I felt kind of detracted from the film's value. Compared to The Prestige to me, that's one of my favorite mystery films. But this film kind of combines different elements. It combines elements of, it's a magician film. It's The Prestige set in the modern day, mixed with Ocean's 11 and National Treasure. But that's more along the lines of the subplots, which if they'd have taken those away, I'd have just said it was a more comparative between, those two. But because of the subplots, I got to throw National Treasure in there as well. And overall, I felt disappointed by this film. I hate that it was so good with the setup, and then you start to notice the problems here and there, and the problems, don't fix themselves later in the film. They build a little bit, and by the end you're not as enthralled, or you're not as invested as you should be in this film. And when little problems like that detract from a film, I hate that. I hate that when films do that. When that happens in a film that overall could have been great. It could have been a good summer film, and it could have been something that people would talk about later. But overall, good summer fare, a good caper, but just a little bit disappointed with it. But hey, I recommend people watch it. Hey, tell me what you think. Comment, like, subscribe, the normal thing. But anyway, next time I'm probably going to try and release one here in the next few days for After Earth, the Will Smith and Jaden Smith movie. But anyway, I'll see you in the next few days, and I'll see you then.